Hey, this is John Smistad, host of Conversations with a Quick Click Critic on Rude Rangers TV. You have reached the after show on my YouTube channel, and wow, what a cool after show we've got going today. I like to ask questions. I normally ask more than I'm going to ask today, but we have 5 fine people that are going to be have the questions posed to them. So we're gonna trim it down to 3 essential questions that must be asked, and they're about to be. So we have TRACEY ADLAI, who's the director of the Valley Film Festival. We have Kevin Martisich, who is the publicist of the festival. We have Chad Peter, who's the director of the Road to Perth, and we have Nate Hapke and Rosie Grace, and their film is 2-11. Thank you, everybody, for joining me on the after show here with the Quick Click Critic.
Hi.
All right, we're gonna start. I'm just go random here, asking these questions. Chad, I got to start with you. This is not random because you'll see why when I ask the question. It's pretty applicable. Chad, best road trip. Okay, I know what you're going to say. I'm going to say, except for the one that you did for the film, best road trip you've ever been on in your life.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I mean the one we did in the movie was
Chad's film Road to Perth is essentially a road film, even though
I did a road trip from I want to say, well, LA down to San Diego, and then all the way out to Colorado, down through Oklahoma and Texas, and back through New Mexico and back to Arizona and California. That was a good one. We had 4 people in the car. It was a good time. Did you do that in the summer?
I
honestly don't remember. I think it was
okay.
fall.
If you did, you remember. That's strength, my friend. If I grew up in Houston, Texas, if you went to all those states in the summer, that's you made it out.
Yeah, somehow.
You're still with us and talking to us. Cool. All right, Kevin, best road trip you ever been on?
My favorite road trip is actually a short one. I mean, I've done a lot of ones, you know, from up to the Northern California redwoods and whatnot. But my favorite one, honestly, is to take off out of Santa Monica, where I'm based, get on PCH and just get up to Santa Barbara and enjoy that California sun setting through my windows, chase the sunset, and then relax with a beer in Santa Barbara. It's 2 hours.
That's heaven on earth. I haven't done specifically what you've done, but I've traveled that road, and it's beautiful. Is not even an appropriate word. Nate, Rosie, each of you, best road trip you ever been on in your lives?
I don't know if it's the best. It is definitely the most memorable. Nate and I, pretty early on into our relationship, got stranded in Seattle, and we were trying to get back to LA so that Nate could be on set the next day, and had missed a flight. It was a whole thing. And essentially the closest we could fly, we couldn't get to LA, we couldn't get to San Diego, we couldn't get to Ontario, we couldn't get anywhere in the LA vicinity. We ended up flying in the middle of the night into Vegas, renting a car and driving 4.5 hours from Vegas through the night, getting back to Los Angeles just in time for Nate to take a shower and then head to set the next day.
Yep. And then I returned the rental car on my lunch break.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm in Olympia. I'm just south of Seattle. So yeah, it's a cool city to be in most of the time, but wow, that's planes, trains, and automobiles, kind of your own version of it.
Oh, there was a boat involved too. It was a whole we literally wrote a screenplay loosely inspired by it, because we're like, this can't be happening. This can't be real.
The whole thing started because a propeller on the ferry out to Orcas Island broke. So
we've all been there. Is this my life? Is this actually happening in real time? Okay, TRACEY, your coolest road trip you ever been on in your life?
Oh, my coolest one. Okay, I'm gonna be a little fancy here. I drove from Geneva down to Cannes, then across Italy, and then up through, where else did I go? Up through Liechtenstein and Switzerland, and then to Germany. So that was pretty fun.
Were you on your own?
No.
Okay.
Oh no.
Road trips usually with somebody, but it didn't have to be. Okay. Man, that'll stick with you.
It was fun because we didn't have an agenda.
Those are the best kind. Let's just go, man. Let's just go, and that's where we end up. That's where we are. And we'll go from there. Okay, and this obviously appropriate to everybody here. The movie that made you fall in love with movies. Kevin, we'll start with you.
I would say the film that cemented my journey was being at NYU, like Tracy, and being around a lot of powerful filmmakers. And I was in New York City from 1989 through 1994.
Wow.
I transferred in and then graduated quickly within like 2 or 3 years and worked for a couple of years. And I was around in that point, sadly, there were a lot of Vietnam veterans who were really struggling.
Yeah.
And the film that they kept talking about that respected them, it's interesting that theme comes back as to our earlier talking points, was Platoon. And that was written by a veteran, Oliver Stone, who won the Bronze Star and Purple Heart. And then strangely enough, literally within maybe 6 years, I was running the story department for Oliver Stone, and that film and his scripts set my
Wow.
Right. So he wrote Scarface, he wrote Wall Street. There's no one that's been a bigger influence on me in terms of writing style. People forget that he was a writer, an Oscar-winning writer first before he became a 2-time Oscar-winning director.
Yeah.
So Platoon, on top of that, I have to show deep respect to my cousin who died as a Marine in Vietnam. So that film really hit my heart hard. And for obvious reasons, it was not only a hit, it was a commercial, not only a hit, a critically revered film.
Yeah, boy, and thank him for serving and all of our fine men and women who served this great country. Tracy, the movie that made you fall in love with movies, I'm thinking maybe there might be more than one of you. You can isolate one because you are a film festival director.
Okay, this is going to be really cheesy, but Grease was a movie that my dad took me to see 8 times at the drive-in when I was very, very young. So that was definitely the movie that I still watch multiple times a year and love.
Cool. That's and it's fun. If you don't smile when you're watching Grease, you've lost connection to the human condition, I think. Nate, Rosie, each of you, please, a movie that made you fall in love with movies.
I'm going to go with Clue, which is still one of my favorite movies to this day. I love the fact that when in its initial theatrical release, there were not that I was there, but that they had all different endings that they shipped out to different theaters around the country. And I love watching it. I first saw it on VHS, but then I love watching it on DVD, and they play all the endings back to back. It's just fun because it helps recontextualize all the different moments throughout the entire movie that build to the end. And that's really, to this day, that movie, I don't typically rewatch a lot of movies, but that's one that I can just pop on and always know how I'm going to feel and always know how I'm going to experience it. And it's just wonderful.
Cool. Rosie?
So like Tracy, I think we both have to thank our dads, because you said your dad took you to Greece. When I was 4 years old, my dad took me to a re-release theater run of, it was some anniversary celebration of Star Wars: A New Hope. I was gone. That was when I realized sort of what stories are, I think, and that I wanted to tell them. Cool.
Good calls. Chad, your favorite movie that what made you fall in love with movies?
There were so many as a kid, but I think I didn't really connect until I'm going to go with an art film here, Double Life of Veronique by Krzysztof Kieslowski, who's probably my favorite filmmaker. Just seeing like how, the story's kind of unclear in that movie sometimes, but you can kind of take imagery and play with it and just falling in love with that type of storytelling I really love.
Yeah. Well, those are all diverse movies and all really, really cool choices. And obviously they mean a lot to you. All right. Final question. This kind of goes to 2-11, Nate and Rosie, in terms of memorable nights. It's kind of hard to distinguish night and day in your film, but the two characters share a very special moment. So I'm going to go with this question: most memorable night of your life. And we're going to start with you, Tracy. Most memorable night of your life so far.
Oh gosh. Pass. I don't know.
It's gonna be the opening night of this year's film festival, right? Valley Film Festival, like it is every every
Yes,
festival?
we actually open tomorrow. Tomorrow night is our launch party. So tomorrow night's going to be the most memorable night of my life.
Rock and roll, man. Rock and roll. Nate, Rosie, most memorable night of your lives?
I mean, I feel like that's such a trick question, right? Because it's like, oh my gosh, you're going to offend someone with your answer who's going to be like, I thought it would fit. I will say I'm going to take a bit of a twist on it and say most memorable production night from 2-11 because we were doing what, 10 days straight through of filming, and our last night was overnight shoots, and we had saved those for the end because they're brutal. But we were basically on track to finish the entire movie, our first feature, at 4 a.m. And we were like, we have to feed people, but this is a very tiny, sleepy mountain town. There's not even a McDonald's in, 30 miles of us. What are we going to feed people? And so we essentially raided all the breakfast food that we had and been cooking for everybody for the first, chunk of production. And so we wrapped our movie. Everybody came inside. I had our PA Brenda go and pick up a couple bottles of sparkling wine. And so we basically had frozen Eggo waffles, cereal, scrambled eggs, and a champagne toast at 4 a.m. to say, holy cow, we just finished making our first feature. That was pretty memorable.
That sounds like every college meal from every college kid ever. That's awesome. Nate?
Yeah, I mean, one night that I would choose, I guess, was when Rosie and I did our first big premiere. We did for our first collaboration, which was a short film entitled She and Her, which actually Tracy had mentioned earlier, the 2020 Valley Film Festival that they didn't have to go dark for. It was so special because on my birthday, which was November 8th, She and Her screened they did a drive-in format, and it was so cool because we drove and we got to go, be a part of that. But the night that I'm thinking about right now, most memorable, was Rosie and I held a premiere for She and Her. We rented the Harmony Gold Theater in West Hollywood, and everybody got dressed to the nines. We had a step and repeat, and we had wine and beer, and the proceeds went to a cause that we really cared about. And my mom flew out, which was so special. And
cool.
it was just really awesome because it was like, it's not why you do it, but it's really nice to be able to get together and celebrate. And it was a lot of hard work, and we're still really proud of that project because that really launched us collaborating together. And so to be there and get to be on stage together, and it was a beautiful Q&A, and that was a really nice night.
It was a great night.
Very cool. And obviously people who matter to you more than anything were there. That's always a blessing. Kevin, most memorable night of your life?
First in my heart, what comes to mind is meeting my brother's kids when they were born into this world. Those are the nights I really remember. But to give you a more applicable answer here, that's not so general, since there are 6 of them, right? It's a lot of nights. I was at NYU beginning this journey as a young adult, and I was so excited to finally screen my gang documentary that I'd worked on for 5 years and worked really hard. I mean, life-changing events.
Wow.
My parents, who paid for my tuition, were going to fly out to my screening in this little NYU screening room, and they got stuck in a rainstorm, a severe one, and they missed the screening. And many dear friends showed up. We were all soaking wet. It was sort of a classic student film screening. We battled the rain. We got there, but my parents couldn't get out from LA. So flash forward roughly 4 to 6 months later, they're showing the final, if you make the final cut of all the films, and my parents wanted to see it in a big New York City theater, and NYU rents out a big theater. And I ended up co-winning the NYU Film Festival that night, and my parents could get there that night. And I'll never forget that moment where I was utterly stunned. I had an out-of-body moment where they said my name, that I co-won the award, the Mobile Award. I didn't think it was me. I thought there was another Kevin Martisich, and there are 3 others. there are 3 others in the United States, but they didn't go to NYU. And and my dad was very cool-headed cat. He nudged me. He said some words like "way to go," and I never forgot that, because I thought we connected in this moment on art, and I just was grateful that they could finally be there for that moment. So that was the beginning of my professional career. That was the night I cannot forget.
Priceless. Yeah, it's wow. Kevin, thanks for sharing that. Really. Chad, most memorable night of your life? Can you offer one?
I'll stick with the film theme. I was lucky enough to be the second unit director on season 4 of Mr. Robot.
Wow.
Because I was working as the visual effects supervisor for the season. And so they would just give me a laundry list of insert shots to go shoot. So we just always had this constant list that was growing. But it never involved any actors. But there was one day we were so crammed at the end of the shoot that they're like, okay, Chad, we need to send you off. Go take one of the trains up north. We were shooting in New York. And they said, okay, Rami Malek's going to go with you. It was literally, it just won the Oscar.
Oh, man.
3 weeks before. And so, yeah, they sent me up there with Rami and the second unit camera team. And we just shot on for a couple hours on the train. That's how I got into the DGA from that, which was great. Doesn't get you jobs, but it was nice to be in because it's pretty hard to get in.
A pretty cool guy to work with.
I lucked out. Yeah, he was really nice. He was very gracious. So that's first and last time I had an Oscar winner as the lead cast member, but that was a pretty memorable night.
It won't be the last, my friend.
Yeah, no, it won't be, man. That'll cover it. Yeah, luck, but it's a little more than that with you and all the people that I'm talking to now in terms of, as my dad would say, you know, these folks have something going on that most of us don't have. Speaking of that, thank you to every single one of you, Tracy, Kevin, Chad, Nate, and Rosie. All involved in the Valley Film Festival in one way or another, and all tremendous professionals, and really collectively and individually appreciate you being a part of the show. It's been a pleasure.
John, thank you for your wonderful questions. Really inspiring.
Thank
Good.
you.
I'm inspired by so many of your answers, and I never know what people are going to tell me, and it's always fun and meaningful to me. So that will do it. This is the after show that we have been enjoying. After you've watched the full interview on Rude Rangers TV with Tracy, Kevin, Chad, Nate, and Rosie. Appreciate you tuning in. Again, remember that Conversations with the Quick Flick Critic live streams every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Rude Rangers TV. The Rude Rangers Unite app is where you go to watch it on all of your favorite streaming platforms. Again, my name is John Smistad. I am your humble host. And until next time, as always, listen, learn, laugh. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.